Hi, thank you everyone. Thanks for attending another investing model podcast. My name is Siwin Yi from the Real Estate Network, and my guest speaker is Maureen McCann from Spartan Invest. And today's topic is there's no such thing as a national real estate market. So what does that mean? I mean, the national news media, everybody else, they talk about, oh, real estate is this and that, market correcting. But what they really fail to mention is you and I have been in this real estate investing business for a very, very long time, Marine. And there's no such thing as a national real estate market. Every market is different. So whether you are a primary homeowner or whether you are want to become a real estate investor, you need to just compartmentalize, you know, your strategy. Oh, sometimes I have trouble saying this word. Can you say it? Can you say this word?
Compartmentalize.
Okay, all right. I
You're so
digress.
cute.
Now, I'm gonna have you take over because I'm gonna stumbling myself into total embarrassment.
All right, I'm jumping in, jumping in. So I know what you're saying. There really is no such thing as a national housing market because one blanket statement for the entire nation does not drill down or apply even to your local market. There may be some similarities, comparisons. It may not even be applicable to your respective local market. So, sometimes when you hear these national headlines, you kind of automatically assume that it applies to where you live or where you invest, and that may or may not necessarily be true. So that's why I think when you find the more localized data, then that is more applicable to you taking that information in, using that to then make a informed decision on what makes sense for you in that particular market. So, the national market, they just want to take all of the data from and average it across the United States and present one particular number, such as, we'll give you an example, such as the the rents have increased nationally 15.5% over the last 12 months. Well, is that true for every market? Is that true for the nation as a whole? Yes. Is that true for the individual markets, so the markets that you're investing in? No, because I could tell you, the rent inflation that we have seen in our particular markets exceeds even 20% in some of the areas that we're doing business in. So nationally, maybe 15.5 is the nation's average. That doesn't necessarily mean that applies down to the local market where you are doing business or investing in.
Absolutely. Lindy, another example, again, the national news media and a lot of YouTube clickbait videos, they always want to sensationalize what they try to say. So, for example, like one of those fast-moving hot markets during the pandemic, the markets such as Boise, Idaho, and Phoenix, Arizona, and Las Vegas, Nevada, and certain parts of Florida, and Austin, Texas, for example, and Miami, Florida. These kind of hot markets that have achieved like triple digit, quadruple digit appreciation during the past 2 years in the pandemic. You could use this sample and make it a point. You could make an argument that they are going through some corruption because maybe some slight corruption, and their market have seen price drops, if you will. How much we don't know at this time, but this is just a small sample of the nationwide market. The other market that the news media, the mainstream news media does not talk about because they are potentially could be a boring market. But then again, a quote unquote boring real estate specific market could be good. As a matter of fact, no, I believe you and I believe. I know what you're getting at. You and I believe a real estate investor should buy in a boring real estate market.
100%. Boring is best.
So with that in mind, from your perspective, Marine, how would you describe a boring real estate market, and why do you feel is a good place to for a mom and pop real estate investor from out of state, what have you, to create a portfolio of real estate properties in this boring market? Give me some examples. How do you define the boring market, and why you think the success formula is really made to make it work in today's market?
So for a boring market, how I would define it is, number one, it's really not on any list, right? Once you're on a list, you're kind of discovered, and there's a lot of attention, not only from the individual investors and mom and pop investors, as you say, but then it really attracts a lot of institutional dollars, because guess what? Those institutional dollars, they're looking for a yield and a return too, even in this at this particular time. And I know we mentioned in a previous podcast that there was a lot of Florida residents upset at a large institutional buyer that came in with $45 million and bought up a lot of single family properties in that particular Florida neighborhood, and is turning them into rental properties. So boring for me is, they're emerging markets. They're not very popular, but they're well populated. There's a stable and diverse economy. There is an influx of population growth because there are jobs being created there. And you know what? Let's face it, manufacturing is not very sexy, right? But there are manufacturing plants throughout the United States, a lot of them in the Sun Belt, that will manufacture things from steel to auto parts to processed poultry. You know, these are jobs that these are companies that need employees to be able to fulfill the manufacturing role. And then we tend to find people that like that in those types of blue collar or white working class, you know, who need housing nearby, because renters like to live nearby where they work, shorten the commute time, shorten the amount of gas you have to use. So boring to me is, what was boring is sexy in real estate, because you have stable and growth economy, low property taxes, strong organized team on the ground who is committed to delivering the performance of that property for the investor, because they're in it to win it too. And then you've got strong population growth because of the job growth, but it's not on your top 10. Here's the top hottest 10 markets to invest in. You know, they've already kind of, you know, you might be paying a little bit higher premium now because the prices have gone up, because the competition is more fierce in that particular market. So these little unsung hero markets, the emerging markets that no one's really heard about before. And if you were to say it in conversation to someone else who's in that same circle, and maybe they're a real estate investor, and they're like, you know, Birmingham, Alabama, or like Montgomery, Alabama, like, you're really going to invest there? Like, why aren't you going to invest in St. Louis, Missouri, or Kansas City, or, you know, some of the other, Memphis, all the top 10, you know, investing market that make the top 10 list for investing. I'm like, I like those little quiet subprime, you know, or undiscovered markets that nobody knows about, because that's where the growth potential is.
Yep, Maureen. What I have to say is, for those people that live in the high cost areas, such as, you know, in California, Bay Area, where I live, San Francisco Bay Area, and Southern California, where you live in San Diego, beautiful San Diego. Anyway, very high cost market, and also people from the Midwest, like Chicago, you know, fairly high market, you know, very large metro Chicago, and people people that live in Northeast, like in New York City or New Jersey or Connecticut or Massachusetts, and those people that live in those areas it's very hard to invest next to where you live, because the prices of home prices is so high, the numbers does not make sense. That's why those potential investors from those high cost area, they need to get into a boring market, as we discussed. And the boring market, the numbers make sense. You can scale your portfolio. If you have $100,000 or $200,000 of cash ready to deploy, and do some 25% down payment on each of those turnkey properties, in a boring market that only costs about $100,000 per property for a resale property, or $150,000 property, and then a new construction for only like mid 200s. And I mean, if you can find a sub market and a specific market like that, and use a great turnkey provider, I mean, you can someone can achieve a turnkey, passive, remote, out of state economy of scale. You can buy a portfolio 3 or 4 or 5, 6, 10 properties in the next few years, and then before you know it, if you stay the course, invest for 10 years or more, then you can use the passive income from this portfolio of rental properties to offset your salary, your earned income, and that is my definition of financial freedom. So I know I just gave you a high level. So what are your thoughts on
I think you answered the question better than I did. I'm going to redo my answer.
I just gave the answer also, exactly. So to be specific, I mean, not that we are trying to promote ourselves, but let's promote ourselves a little bit.
Let's promote ourselves. Come on, let's do it.
So what made you think your market is the prime to help out-of-state investors to do something like this?
Because, well, I mean, I'll just take your example that you said. I mean, if someone had $200,000 right now, I'm not even sure what $200,000 could buy in the Bay Area.
A garage.
Yeah. So
not even.
right. And if you're trying to take that $200,000 and turn it into monthly cash flow, really hard to do that in the Bay Area, very hard to do it in San Diego. But there are these, I know, undiscovered markets that have an organized team on the ground that really deliver a quality product that is complete. Put a renter in there, and you take that $200,000, and like you said, put 25% down or even 20% down. You can get many homes versus just one home, maybe in your own backyard. So that's the power of really finding and aligning yourself with someone like Seawing, someone like myself, who have partnered together because we see the value in what the both of us bring. And that is, he's got the financial consulting side. He's also a real estate investor. So he understands, he practices what he preaches. And he and his family have benefited, as well as I have benefited from investing in real estate. We didn't have real estate backgrounds, but we've learned what real estate can do for us. Therefore, hence, we spend our time willingly sharing information that could be, if you listened and took action and executed, could benefit you as well. Do we benefit? Absolutely. But it's not it's not a purely selfish motive of, here, let's come buy a house and I forget you. This is Seawing and I collaborating for a long-term business partnership to help investors build a long-term real estate portfolio to generate months and years of passive income. And if you actually listen to what we're saying, and you believe in what we're saying, and you take the action to do and instruct you as we are saying, then we know the benefit to you. Because what if we were right? And what if you took the action? And what if 10 years from now you have $10,000 or $15,000 a month coming in residually, or more or less, depending on whatever your needs are? But what if you did have that extra $10,000 coming in a month, every month for the rest of your life? You would then see the value of this call and what Seawing and I know is true, because we have already done this for so many other investors before you. So this is why we're doing it, because I don't know if you guys are really relying on your pension, if you even have one. They're being challenged daily. I'm not even sure if you are relying on Social Security, or maybe you don't even have a plan at all, or maybe you're actually just first looking for, hey, things are uncertain. I kind of look in a different direction. I've never really done this real estate thing. Maybe I should take a look at it. And does it make any sense? It really does. And Seawing's good about talking about those clickbaiters. You got to just ignore them, because they're just trying to get more eyeballs for more advertising dollars, and they can do it by fear. And fear sells, but facts don't lie. And real estate produces income in multiple ways: cash flow, appreciation, depreciation, hedge against inflation, and loan pay down. All those things, they don't change no matter what the economic conditions are.
Well, Maureen, well said. And I'm going to conclude by saying that, again, the topic for this is there's no such thing as a national real estate market. Every market is different. Every market is very localized, down to not only to the city, down to the few mile radius, is down to a street, down to a block, one block in a street. That's what it comes down to, right? So again, look beyond the so-called national real estate market, focus, do some more research to find a niche, investment methodology niche, find a market, find a turnkey provider that can deliver on this kind of services for out-of-state investors, and then trust the process, work as a team, and then ride out, invest for the long term, and take action, those kind of things. So that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. And thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Si Wing Yi and with Maureen McCann from Sparty Invest. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.